So now, Karibu to Alboa Cinema. I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I think that the diversity of content on this channel must be upped up. Now, in this field that we are in, there are various magical things that we do. The various effects, makeup, costume, whatever. So there's so many videos online that would show you the hows to do it and the whys and whatnot. So those are the kind of videos that I'm curating to bring for you, filmmakers especially. So the first one that I wanted to react to, there's going to be others on visual effects, directing, equipment, whatever catches my fancy. I'll bring it to you. So now on this particular one, I wanted to talk about how the look of the superhero, especially when they look buff and whatnot. Now, there's various ways that people actually achieve this. So we are going to listen in to this video by Brendan Sescon. Yes, and go subscribe to that channel over there. So here on this video, the secret history of fake muscles in superhero movies. So how do they pull off the face fake muscles look? Sawa. Don't forget, subscribe there quickly to the channel as we continue to consume this wonderful content by, what's his name again? Brendan Sescon. All right, as usual, there's noise around me, so children wailing, construction, traffic.
Padding or physical enhancement. Most actors use padding or physical enhancement under their superhero costumes. Even someone like Henry Cavill, who is in great shape for Man of Steel, needed a body.
So the first thing they do, obviously, they a lot of the times these days you can't just have the look. They cast properly. They make sure he puts on some muscle if it needs to be muscular or athletic or what. They make sure that they are able to do that. But then, of course, now they add on top of that the costumes. They pad them. They add a little so they look even bigger. That's if, of course, if they can't pull it off naturally. But for most actors, I think it usually sells better when you try and get as close to the look by yourself through the workouts and whatnot. Anyway,
Bodysuit under his.
Some actually are like 50 Cent. They starve themselves to look a certain way, emaciated like an AIDS patient. You remember those? So they go either way, or sometimes they overeat. But we are talking about muscles. Okay.
Costume to maintain size and definition. See, the problem with skin-tight costumes is that they don't actually augment muscle shape. They flatten it out. So, ironically, wearing a spandex compression suit ends up making an actor's physique look worse than it actually is. This poses a problem for costume designers trying to emulate the classic comic book aesthetic, where superhero uniforms look almost painted on. Combine this with the fact that comic book characters have highly exaggerated physiques. Translating this to the big screen ends up being wildly difficult. Early attempts at superhero costumes often didn't have muscle padding at all and consisted of a somewhat baggy, woven, wool-like material. The 1943 Batman serial is a great example of this. The 1948 Superman serial, starring Kirk Allen, has a similar look. Likely no padding, but allegedly it does contain 4-inch lifts in the boots. Things changed in 1952 with the George Reeves Adventures of Superman series. Reeves wore a muscular undersuit comprised of fabric and rubber.
Hey, these guys have come from far. You see, like this is a kind of R&D, research and development that is required in every industry. These guys, they did their thing for such a long time. They actually use technology. They mechanicals. Is it anything like mechanicals? Like building things, robotics, whatnot. They went in. You see, like such things is when somebody's playing when somebody is paying close attention to how the person will look, how the character would look, when they want them as true to what they thought the character would be as possible. So the lengths to which Hollywood or other industries go, but specifically Hollywood go through, that's why sometimes you see some ridiculous budgets. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that's why there's usually a lot of budget, because they have to hire specific experts in certain areas. If you move out to effects, you find like maybe explosion. They have like explosion experts that do that. So yeah,
giving him extra upper body definition. This Superman series continued until 1958, which happens to be the same year that spandex was invented. Spandex, also known as Lycra, ended up being the material of choice in 1966's Batman TV show starring Adam West. This suit finally had the skin-tight look that earlier versions didn't, but as you can see,
it does look a bit ridiculous. It looks like really horrible cosplay for these days, if you know cosplay. The people who dress up like the various characters of movies, comic books, blah, blah, blah. These days, somebody would be there's many of them are so good, or at least a number of them are so good, they would create costumes and makeup to almost exact specifications. So if you come weak, anyway, they started the difficulties in trying to make this believable. I understand. I am not laughing because, but I get where they're coming from. Making props is a difficult, like believable props. Look at the belt there. Okay, so
it has that unflattering compression effect I mentioned earlier,
yes,
and no muscle padding.
All those other guys
and these guys needed to be more muscular. If you get an actor who was actually like a bodybuilder, more like that, not like the extreme ones, but somebody who has more muscle, so that even through this you can still see
muscles built in their costumes. All I had in my bat suit was 100% grade A West.
1977's Spider-Man TV show continued the trend of spandex costumes without muscle padding and was quickly followed by Superman, the movie, starring Christopher Reeve. Reeve famously refused to wear muscle padding, and that's about where the trend ends. Because everything changed in 1989.
Let me tell you something. That power where an actor has that much power to tell a director how the film is going to look. That's only, it cannot be allowed in any sets. I know that a lot of people have made they've negotiated down from their position. It's impossible. If you're a director and you have a certain image and you know how to execute it, it's upon the actor to do what you want. Of course, within the limits of legality and safety, and those notwithstanding, but they cannot start to tell you how the look should be and how to achieve it, unless they're experts themselves.
With Tim Burton's Batman.
Jesus, now they've come.
This iteration consisted of foam rubber molded to a cast of actor Michael Keaton's actual physique. Although this costume was infamously stiff, Keaton couldn't even turn his head, it was the first time we saw artificial musculature reminiscent of the comics.
Yep.
Each subsequent Batman movie throughout the 90s
after you do that, you can't go back.
pushed this aesthetic further, taking it to its logical extreme.
Yes.
By the end of the decade, these costumes had little to no relation to the actual physiques of the actors. Director Joel Schumacher
it's the physique of the character, how you want the character to look. The actor must fit that, not the other way around. Sometimes you can retrofit the character's features to fit the actor, because maybe the actor is so good that you can't really lose them. But it's often the other way around.
Intentionally wanted them to evoke the physiques of ancient Greek statues, accentuating the beauty of the male body. By this point, audiences were acclimated to hypermuscular characters, not just because of the 90s Batman
should go back to it
movies, but because of other action heroes as well, played by steroid-using icons like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Moving forward, superhero physiques would rarely be all natural. From now on, almost all of their costumes would be exaggerating their proportions to some degree. 2002,
which is what superheroes should be. They're more enhanced humans, so to speak. So it is within character.
Saw the return of the spandex superhero in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but this time, actor Tobey Maguire was fitted with a muscle suit to wear under the costume. It's worth noting at this point that male actors were increasingly expected to be in great shape and look good shirtless.
Yes.
Tobey Maguire had a 5-month workout plan leading up to filming, and he looks great. But here's a weird thing about getting shredded. When you drop fat and get abs, you objectively get smaller.
Yes.
Yet you look
You
bigger.
look bigger.
It's an optical illusion.
What'd you do? You do special workout? Because when you finally turn into Spider-Man, you're muscular as hell. Well, how did that work? How do you get that size?
I worked out for 5 months, 6 days a week, up to 4 hours a day.
This became a big trend after the 90s, where trainers and nutritionists realized it was faster to get actors to cut weight and get ab definition than it was to get them to add 40 pounds of muscle, which realistically takes years, and in some cases is just not possible. This was largely the result of Fight Club. After 1999, Brad Pitt's Fight Club body became the most sought-after male physique. And obviously he looks great, but he's only about 155 pounds in this film. Here's an interview he did at the time of shooting.
You look too skinny, though.
Thanks,
You're always
kid.
looking too skinny. Are
You
you
say
not
that every
eating?
time.
I know, but you are. I realize,
I'm a professional leader.
You look so skinny in person.
Really?
Are you eating enough?
Yeah, I'm eating enough.
So he looks amazing shirtless, but when clothed, he looks so small that people are wondering if he's eating enough. This becomes a trend for a while. Actors cut weight to get muscle definition and look good shirtless, but now they look...
Yeah, once you do that and you light properly, you get those hard cuts, the shadows, contrast. It looks... That's how it's done, basically. Especially if somebody's fit and can show they have actual definition. One lighting can
too
do
small in a
wonders.
superhero costume, so they need more muscle padding. 2003's Daredevil had Ben Affleck sporting a leather suit that contained muscle padding in the chest, shoulders, and upper back just to fill him out a little. For 2005's Batman Begins, Christian Bale's batsuit was made from foam latex and enhanced his anatomy with a more militaristic look.
You see, all this is materials. People are testing out materials on costumes. See, we don't do that. Like the costume that I see is just normal. You go to Gikomba, get the best. Or every now and then somebody might make a suit. But it's not like a normal suit or a piece of clothing or whatever, some African gear, Ankara or whatever. But there's no designing costume for a character. Sorry, outside the normal.
In 2006's Superman Returns, Brandon Routh wore subtle muscle padding in his upper body as well. In 2011's Captain America: The First Avenger, Chris Evans wore a full-body padded muscle suit. This is another example of an actor who was obviously in fantastic shape, but due to physics and audience expectations, needed enhancement under the costume as well.
Yes.
Of course, now we reach 2013's Man of Steel. We already covered that Henry Cavill's suit is enhanced, and it's even more so in the sequel Batman v Superman. But this Batman, played by Ben Affleck, was a huge departure in costume style for the character. Gone is the foam rubber Greek god look. Now we've got a thick, padded, brute-like costume. In 2016's Deadpool, the costume originally had a faux muscle layer, but allegedly Ryan Reynolds was too big for the costume, so they had to remove it. That being said, the Deadpool costume has a lot of thick tactical pieces, especially on the shoulders, which is a more modern trend that gained popularity in the MCU. It accentuates an actor's physique without them having to wear a fake muscle suit. In 2019, we got the satirical superhero show The Boys, which introduced us to a heavily padded muscle suit worn by Anthony Starr, playing Homelander.
I was told to beef up, and so I worked out like a madman, and then I get to set, and Anthony's like, "Why didn't you just tell him to add muscles to the suit, bro?"
Shazam got some criticism for an overly padded suit, and its sequel, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, had a slightly leaner look. In 2021's Spider-Man: No Way Home, actor Tom Holland claimed that one of the 3 Spider-Man actors wore a fake posterior, so presumably there's some padding going on here too. In 2022's Black Adam, The Rock didn't wear any muscle padding, and he's probably one of the few actors whose
it's because he has the actual padding in the muscle. By the way, he's cut a lot of weight right now. He had a heart issue. I think he's shed off like 25 kilos in muscle. So he's a lot leaner. It's been on some steroids for years, decades. So, but you see, in this, when you have that actual muscle, bodybuilder type, then it comes off without having the padding. So you just really work on the whatever.
physique actually rivals that of his comic book counterpart. In 2025's Superman, director James Gunn said that he didn't want a suit that looked like a wet t-shirt and didn't want it to have a bunch of fake...
This latest one, the Superman, the costume looks... I prefer the one, the Man of Steel. I prefer the one of Batman versus Superman. This one was the latest one. Nah.
Muscles in it. So presumably there's no padding in this one either, or at least very little. That brings us largely up to date. I'm sure there's plenty I'm missing, but there's not a ton of information on this. Also, this video focused on male superheroes because actresses portraying superheroes typically don't wear as much muscle padding. At least I couldn't find any info on that. Apparently butt pads are more common than you'd think for both males and females, but perhaps that's another video. I think it's important to recognize that film is an illusion. Not everything you see is real. Just because an actor looks jacked doesn't mean they are jacked. And just because an actor is jacked doesn't mean they'll look great in spandex. Superheroes are mythic, fantastical, by definition, unrealistic. It's important that we don't misunderstand what we see and allow it to create unrealistic body standards for ourselves. Now, that being said, personally, I enjoy seeing characters who are unrealistically jacked. I find it extremely motivating and aspirational, even though I know I'll never look like any of these extreme examples. But that's okay. If I try to look like one of these guys, even though I'll fall short, I'm still gonna look all right.
Now, and it's gone on to the whole body image things. That's not my forte. My forte here is the house. So often, especially, and you see, we are talking about superheroes, but let's just expand it to different types of characters. If you want your character to look emaciated, there's really little you can do there because the character has to either you cast somebody who just looks naturally very lean and then maybe you dehydrate him a bit more, or the actor you choose has to diet down to fit the role. You can do some VFX here and there and makeup to enhance it, but that's it. Secondly, the costumes. The costumes, of course, there's the padding, which is the most favorable method when you're dealing with superheroes over these muscular people. There's been bodysuits that are created for, say, fat people, so to somebody to look fat. So you can either actually eat or they do fat suits and makeup because that's usually less detrimental to the actor. Imagine now you gain like 50 pounds, 25 kilos, then you have to cut. It's just more difficult than sitting down because it can take 6 hours to do your makeup and costume if you want like a fat suit. So there's trade-offs, depending on your budget and your needs and wants as a filmmaker. For us independents, it's if you're going to dramatically change someone like that, often you just cast someone who looks like that. That's the easiest way. It's actually like for indies, if you need to sit, somebody needs to sit for hours to do just makeup and costume, you can't make your budget. Because these are like for high budget, they'll sit there because it's been paid for, the best people in the world, blah, 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 and they do it. But if you're going to talk about indie, you have to weigh your options. And an actor sitting down for 6-7 hours to do makeup and costume, for you to shoot maybe a scene of 20 seconds, sometimes 2 minutes even. So it's about weighing those. So I don't know what you think about this video. Is it something that you would like me to continue doing? So you can leave your comment down below. Tell me what you think. Of course, leave a like for the algorithm. Last but not least, subscribe. Yes, go to 10,000. I'm a VP. Until next time.